This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the generative AI assistant that can securely understand your business data, summarize results, and streamline tasks. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
From Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museums will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum's CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation
Show.
Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at _MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the MisFitNation Show. It's your Thursday after dinner show. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for being on with the Tuesday crew. On Tuesday, of course, they had a great show with Eric Damiani. Tonight, we have an awesome guest who's coming to us all the way from LA. She's a world-renowned, highly published physician researcher who scientifically defined wisdom in her book, Common Wisdom. She interviewed 60 wise individuals across North America and arrived at 8 elements of wisdom. Her book is fascinating, insightful, and to the point. So without further ado, let's welcome Laura Gabayan to the MisFitNation Show. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
It's awesome to connect with you. It's awesome that we're able to do these kind of things across the country, basically. You're still watching the sun bake down on you over there. Ours is starting to set over here in Tennessee. We gave a little bit of an introduction for you right there, Dr. Laura. Tell us a little more about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
So I went to med school. I specialized in emergency medicine and then research and published a lot. And as you can tell, my speech is not great. I slurred a lot. And so what I noticed was in 2013, my body started to fall apart. And my muscles got weaker, and so my speech, that's why it's affected. My muscles are weak, and my legs are weak too. And that's when I was like, well, the physicians I knew, medicine was ready to label me and put me in a box. And then I thought, well, who is not the type, or who looks at a bigger lens? Who thinks outside the box? And that's when I thought the wise do. And I looked into wisdom, and I noticed that we don't really know what it's about. And so that's when I did the Wisdom Research Project. And after I did that, during the process of doing it, I interviewed 60 wise individuals. Trust me, it was not easy to find. Those 60 were really hard to find. I spoke with community leaders, random people, and they just, the clergy, random people said, oh, I don't know anyone, or they may know one person, and then that one person nominated another person, and so that's how it came. And afterwards I was like, well, what they had to say was so great that I put it in my book, Common Wisdom.
That's awesome. Did you do all these interviews in person, or did you do a lot of virtual like we're doing now?
They're virtual interviews, and it was great because the pandemic actually helped because people are used to it.
And everyone has good setups now because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of sales were made on microphones, cameras, multi-monitors. Everyone has all kinds of setups now. Like they'll have a studio in their house just to do work meetings and such. So I'm guessing that really helped you out a lot.
Yes.
Where's the furthest person away from you got to talk to about wisdom?
So I interviewed people in the U.S. and North America, and there was people who were aged 50 to 79, because before you do I didn't know anything about wisdom. So what I did do is I knew enough about research to do a research project. And of course, the way I led it was how I would lead any research project, is look at what was there before. So what was there was studies about wisdom in journals like sociology or psychology or geriatric journals. And that's when they found that wisdom is local to an area. And that's why we stuck to North America. And it has nothing to do with race or gender or political affiliation. It's all just based on the area.
Where did when you were finding the wisdom, I want to frame this right. Where did you find the people with the most wisdom within North America?
Oh, I didn't, as a scientist, I didn't decide who was wise and who wasn't.
All right.
And so I started telling everyone I knew, and they not may or may not. Some people didn't know anyone, and so they told me, "Oh, so and so is. I went to college with this person," or "Oh, I know this random person." We put it on social media as well. I had an media person as well help out. I made a website and I created a interviewing platform. So, and then it just went from there.
Oh, you actually created your own interview platform?
Well, it was I don't want to say the name, but it
Okay.
wasn't it was a platform that I emailed them with, but they had to set up a time to meet with me, and they had to fall into a certain age range, as I said, 50 to 79. So they had to go through a lot of different hoops. They had to answer questions and stuff, and then they met with me.
Okay. Were most of them receptive to the research, or did you have to really work to find people that would actually do it?
They were really honored to be nominated, and it was because they knew the person who nominated them was not a friend. Often it was not a relative, it was just a random person. Oh, yeah, I remember. And they were honored to be nominated as wise.
Wow, that is an honor for them to have just word of mouth, basically tell, "Hey, go interview Mr. or Mrs. X," and
Right.
it'd be
And
great for
that's why they were open to it. It's not like they got anything out of it. It's not like, but they gave me their time, and they answered a set of 10 questions that did not say, "Oh, what do you think is wisdom?" It asked them other questions like, what event did you go through in life that served as your teacher? Or tell me about your life. Or, there are other things that led to the 8 elements.
Okay, and I'm guessing this was a qualitative study since it was
So, so I didn't explain the details. Is that we took stories, the qualitative study, and we converted them into data. And we started with over 20 different themes or elements, and then we cut it down to 8. And the 8 we found that are associated with wisdom are what we found in our 60 was, oh, sorry, resilience, kindness, positivity, spirituality, humility, tolerance, creativity, and curiosity.
wow. Okay, those are pretty good elements right there. Actually, yeah. I think that takes into account a lot of things that we see on a daily basis in everyday life too. You see almost all of that as you go to work or as you walk down the street. You'll see
But you
almost
may or may not see it,
you'll
right?
see people being curious. You'll see people having resilience on the street and such like that. And you might like there's some ports you definitely won't see. You'll have to actually talk to people to get it out of them that they're being that kind of presence with them.
Well, it's funny because I agree with you, but it's not that common to think about it. Like, for example, I'm from the Middle East, and kindness, which was the second element, was not something that was respected where I came from. And yet, the people I spoke with kindness was so important to them. It was not only kind to themselves, they were kind to others, they were kind in what they did. Kindness was really important. And so now it's become more important to me. So after I spoke the 6 day, I realized these 8 elements can really change lives. And that's when I wrote the book. And the feedback I've gotten is Common Wisdom, my book, has really changed lives. And it kind of makes people look at things in a different way.
I bet it does. And you said you're getting positive feedback from the book. Obviously, it's on. Where is it located? Is it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or is it everywhere?
It's everywhere, but I think the best place that's kind of guaranteed to get it is on Amazon. And if people go, so originally to promote the project, I did create the website, thewisdomresearchproject.com. And that feeds into my website of AloraGabayan.com. And both of those allow you to buy the book, or you can go to Amazon, put in Common Wisdom. Now, a way to a lot of people say, oh, well, why Common Wisdom? I'm like, well, there are the 8 common elements. Well, the ones that were most common between these people. And that's what we called Common Wisdom.
I mean, all 8 of them are important to many people, obviously. Our show here, especially, resilience is huge for our audience because of what they've been through. Resilience, grit, mindset helps them to get through their daily lives now after the traumas that they've been through in combat, or even just at home and seeing things here. And then our first responders, of course, they live the life every day. They can't really turn off because it's always on for them. So when you speak about resilience, what do you see as the key factor of resilience?
First of all, I think that all of them, all the 8, are related to one another. So positivity is going to help you be resilient, for example. And I think with the resilience, it's really the way you look at things. And it's, my book is very simple and to the point, but it says things in there that, for example, with resilience, things don't happen to you, but they happen for you. And it's hard for people to grasp that because they can't see the big picture. We're human. We can't see the big picture. We have no idea why. But when you have that security that, yes, there's a higher power and things are happening for me so I can grow, so I can be stronger, whatever reason, so I can gain more wisdom, whatever reason it is, things are happening. It's the way you look at it.
Okay, I mean that's a great point there, and I know the audience is they're chomping at the bit. They haven't jumped in questions yet, but I know they write a lot of stuff down while we're talking, so usually questions come later. When you were doing this, how long did it take you to compile the data, get it coded, so you come up with the 8, and then actually publish?
So I did have a group of 2 others with me,
Okay.
and we start. It took all the interviews took a total to 7 months, and towards halfway through the 7 months, we had enough videos of people I had spoken with that's when we started looking at them. We spent about 4 hours a week, 2 hours in one meeting, another 2 in another, and we would go through videos. And now this is not just this was the time I spent with the other 2. Before that, I spent a lot of time as well looking at the videos. And so a given person would get an element. And for example, as I said, we started with over 20. So for example, positivity had humor in it and had gratitude. So if someone said someone was very funny, or if they talked about gratitude a lot, they got positivity as well. And that was the trait they got, even though they were grateful or funny, for example.
And that's very clear there. We do something here in our area. We have a chapter called the Travis Manion Foundation Clarksville chapter, and we do character does matter mentorship for youth. And a lot of the 8 elements that are on in your book are what we try to teach the youth to hone in on after they take a VIA skills test to see if where they'll rank top 5, bottom 5, and how we bring them together. Kindness, positivity, spirituality, humility, creativity, and curiosity are all in that list for the youth to get their strengths. And it's awesome that they're there too.
It's funny because a lot of people are like, well, who would buy your book? I'm like, at first I thought it was people over the age of 30 because they'd be interested in knowing these elements more. But the more I think about it, as you said, I feel like those are all qualities that we want to see in our youth as well.
Yes. Especially
So,
as we're getting to the point where we have to hand off the baton to them to lead their generation into the future. We need to see them show these character traits as well.
true.
I know for me, when I read books, I usually revisit them a lot and go back to them and see the things I missed the first time. Because usually the first time I read a book, I blaze through it. The next time I kind of hone in on some things, and each time after that, I kind of focus deeply on the parts that really resonated to me the second time. Do you think your book is a book that someone will is better to go revisit it to find more stuff?
I definitely feel like it's a friend. It's like a mentor. It's like and what your, for example, who I was 20 years ago with spirituality was very different than who I am now. Or even 10 years ago. I always believed in medicine, especially in science, that if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. And if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist either. And so now I definitely see that there's a bigger, I not see, I believe that there's something bigger and there's a bigger purpose. But did I think that before? No. And in the book, there are kind of reflective parts at the end of each chapter that allow you to write your thoughts in two different time frames. And I did that because I feel like your two different time frames will vary.
That's, I mean, I think they will too. Just like you said, when 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we had a whole different mindset, probably most of us, than we do as we get older. Because you learn more, you gain more knowledge of other things in life, and you put more things in perspective. And I think if you put the time frames on there, you can actually, I guess, see it in real time how it changes.
True.
One thing I used to do, my last job, I'd have veteran fellows for 6 months. So the first day I meet them, I have them write a letter to themselves, to their 6 month from now self. So they would write their letter with their basically what they want to achieve in that 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, I'd mail them that letter and see if they actually fulfilled what they did. And that was a big, great high five thing to me for doing that to them. And it was something I learned from a mentor of mine. So I think that worked for them to see two different points of view of themselves from going to a big gathering of veterans in, say, January, and then in June finding out what they did in those 6 months to make it happen.
So, it's funny because not all books are like that, though.
Right.
I mean, you talk about how important it is to realize that things change over time, but not all books are really books you're going to revisit in like a year, 2, 3, 4 years. And so I specifically, after I spoke with them, as these people, I was like, wow, they have so much to teach all of us. And wisdom is not some woo-woo topic. I broke it down into those 8 elements, and I really want people to realize being wise is more being okay or being at peace. And don't get me wrong, it's not like bad things did not happen to these people. I was very impressed, and that's why resilience is the first one. Bad things happened. Difficult moments happened. Lots of people lost lots of people in their lives. But they were able to get through it. Not bitter, not angry, but they were able to get through it.
Definitely. And since you did the research with these individuals, have you still been in touch with them, or did the relationship kind of end after the interviews?
I got in touch with some. We had a national interview a few weeks ago, and the news station wanted to interview a few of them, so I gave them names, and they're willing to. But I've been in touch with some, and a lot of them have been very grateful that this actually went to fruition. We had a launch party went right before the book was published, and all of them attended, or not all were invited, but some attended. Because remember, this is North America, so some were close, and some drove hours, and some weren't able to make it.
It is North America's a pretty big land mass, so it is very hard to get places, especially if
Right.
if you don't have the funds or the ability to do so.
Right.
And after your study, how do you define wisdom now?
I first of all, I feel like wisdom is a code word for being at peace and realizing that things are not happening to you, but they're happening for you. It's important to be rather than do. And know deep down things will and do work out. And so that's what I tell people now. Now, a big one is also don't live in fear, live in faith. Have faith that things will work out. And when you live in faith, you kind of do it with a different sense of purpose and meaning.
100%. And if you live in fear, you're living afraid of the unknown, really, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen if I walk out this studio right now. What's going to happen when I walk out that door? I can't be afraid of what's beyond that door. You can't be afraid of what's beyond your room right there either. You just got to keep living and keep taking steps in front of you. Don't worry about what's behind you, and drive forward and live that good life and live your best life to your best of your ability.
But you know what? I feel like a lot of us, and I did live in fear most of my life. I was always afraid. Oh, wait, what if I don't become a doctor? Or what if this? What if that? You know, it's constant fear.
It's fear, or is it just the what ifs, the what if world? You're in that what if world. If I don't become the doctor, what will people think of me? It's not really. I don't look at it as fear. I think you're what ifing it, and the fear would be if you became a doctor and maybe you didn't like it after you became a doctor.
I would say what ifs are fears. You know, I would say saying what if is saying like I'm afraid of if whatever happens.
We'll agree to disagree on it. Dr. Laura, how does someone get in contact with you to do the same thing we're doing here, just chatting with you and learning more about common wisdom, or maybe get you to teach them a little more about the steps to learn what of those elements are best for them, or what elements of those are their strongest?
I would say that the best way is either through my website, lauragabayan.com, or the one I use to recruit the 60 that's now linked to my website, which is the wisdomresearchproject.com. Or they can also buy the book on Amazon. Called Common Wisdom, and I've made it really reasonable because I want everyone to access it. I want people to kind of get their hands on it and get an idea of the fascinating topics that everyone talked about.
Definitely. And you have it in every, I mean, it's in every form. You have it in Kindle, audiobook, hardcover, and paperback. So well, I know some people like the hardcover, some people like a paperback. I like to
And
listen to books as I drive now, and some people like the white
I
back of the Kindle.
I do too. I like to listen, but you're right. We have it everywhere, every form, and I did that because I really want people to access it. Like, and remember, and I don't want people to feel like it's gonna be hard because of the letters behind my name. I specifically made it simple to understand, simple but powerful.
Thank you. That's awesome, and I like the book cover itself too, with the light
Thank
bulb
you.
and it looks like the brain housing unit in there as well. It's pretty awesome drawing or picture that you have in there.
Thank you.
And if you could give the audience three things they can do better every day to maybe use those elements to have a better day, what would it be?
I would definitely say change or think about observe the way you think. And remember, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Be kind. A small piece of kindness can go a long way. Be kind even with a smile. And also, when you are around someone, realize how important it is to be humble and have faith.
It's amazing. We always say be humble, stay hungry, keep hustling here. So we jump in there with you there with the humble portion. And that's Tim McGraw's song, Be Humble and Kind, great song. So it covers to him as well. So
True. Well,
Dr.
thank
Laura,
you for having me.
thank you for being here, and thank you for taking some of your time this evening there in California to hang out with us, and for working on this project and publishing this book for all to see and maybe learn more about common wisdom. Have a good night.
Good night.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned. This is one way VA is offering seamless and secure access to its online resources.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.